she was taking 70 plus fentanyl pills a day. She said, I used to sell drugs for the cartel. My girlfriend and I did. And one day we came up short and the cartel cut my girlfriend into pieces in front of me. And since then I've been self-medicating, taking these pills.
I just spoke to somebody that's relatively high up in the Border Patrol. And they had told me that now that I don't know if it's the government, I don't know who created this app. Have you heard about this?
CBP1?
Yes. There's an app.
Garbage.
They now have who created that app?
The DHS, Department of Homeland Security.
Department of Homeland Security.
And they love it, by the way.
Created an app where now people can claim asylum from their, home country, and we will actually fly down there and pick them up and bring them here.
300,000, they caught this administration having flown 300,000 Haitians into our country directly. I mean, your government is flying them in. Michael Yon talks about that. Even if you fix the border issue, they're still going to be flying people in from other countries because they went through the CBP1 app. The cartels have completely learned how to abuse and use the CBP1 app to benefit them. They extort people and say, hey, look, we'll do all the stuff. We'll help you get through the CBP1 app, tell you what you do. This is how much you have to pay us.
Man.
I mean, it is extremely broken. I mean, we're just barely glossing over things too. And I mean, the cartels we haven't even gotten into the violence. We had a girl in our jail that when she came in, we always we do a health assessment. And she's like, I'm taking 70, I think she was taking 70 plus fentanyl pills a day.
70 a day?
She was taking these fentanyl pills. Her body had become so accustomed to it. And when she was detoxing, she dies. While we were talking to her about why she was taking so many before she died, she said, I used to sell drugs for the cartel. My girlfriend and I did. And one day we came up short and the cartel cut my girlfriend into pieces in front of me. And since then I've been self-medicating, taking these pills. I mean, this is the brutality that we have let the devil in the back door. We've let the devil in the back door, and yet we still, and even Americans don't seem to grasp the severity of the problem that exists in our own country.
When you talk about the sex trade and the human smuggling, where are the women being utilized in the sex trade?
So a lot of it is the cartels will have brothels. They'll have, they'll pimp them out. I mean, they've got organizations set up here where you got a guy who might sell drugs and he also manages the women that they sell for sex. A lot of it, the Chinese, which by the way, we've had 37,000 Chinese nationals came in last year, mostly predominantly military age men. In 2021, there was only 450. Last year was 37,000, and this year is probably already about 30,000. Their year ends at the end of September, so we will probably hit close to double what it was last year for Chinese nationals. But I remember watching this investigation where the Border Patrol was doing one, or DHS, and they were following a guy that was running like the Asian or the Chinese or Vietnamese massage parlors, and following him across the country and all the way from California to Florida, all the different stops he made. And every time it was at a different massage parlor all across the country. A lot of them are in those massage parlors, nail salons. I mean, humans are being trafficked in all sorts of places. There's plenty of people that are criminals and have criminal operations in communities that, pimps, people that are, running, how do I say it? Running sex trade, and they just get these women that are vulnerable that need to pay the cartels, that owe the cartels, or they work directly for the cartels. I mean, the sex trade's off the charts. It's all over the country. It's spread like a disease across this country.
What about the kids?
The kids are ending up, Dr. Phil did something recently where he even talked about it. He was on The View. Not that I watched The View. I don't want anybody to
You a big fan of The View?
Every time,
You'd go great on
I
there.
have to preface this by saying I don't watch it, but I happen to see this clip. And Dr. Phil has been doing a lot of work understanding the border and really looking into the trafficking of these kids. Because the kids will come with the same address. And nobody's taking the time to say, hey, this is all the same. The agents are. The agents are saying, guys, we're noticing that everybody, all their addresses written on their arms or the papers they have say it's the same address in Chicago or wherever. And don't worry about it. Just process them through. And Dr. Phil was talking about how a lot of these kids are ending up in like factories and doing hard labor in factories here in this country or in the sex trade. And he was telling this on The View, and one of the hosts actually said, well, is it all of them or some of them? It's like, it doesn't freaking matter. If it's one of them, it's a problem. And yet, but that's the mentality. The mentality is, if it's not affecting me, then what do I care? That's not okay. Like as Americans, we should say, even though it doesn't affect me, I can't watch children be trafficked into hard labor or sex trade. And you have 100,000 children that they admit they don't really know where they are. They admitted to 85,000. That was a year ago. The number could be much higher now.
Have you seen anything in your county?
Oh, we see it every day. Luckily, we don't see as many of the women and the children. The women and the children are typically snatched up by the government because they come in unaccompanied for the most part. I still get children. I mean, I have. We had a car that you can go online where we go to pull it over and it just starts to slow down and boom, it shoots off into the desert. Just straight up off-road and running over cactus and we're chasing it. And right as we pull to a stop, I jump out and the doors open, because the driver and the passenger fled. And it's like a extra cab truck. So it's not a full quad cab. It's just the extra cab. And those two guys had run off and they're running down the hills into the desert. And then I pull up my gun and I'm looking, and quick glance, I see two females, a baby, or a young girl and a man in the back of the truck. And then I took off and started chasing those guys. But the girl had committed, on credit, she owed the cartel $13,000. And the other guys had paid, I think, $6,000 to come into the country. And what you don't see on camera is her feet were completely blistered out. They were wet, like, marching on wet socks, and her feet were just blistered out. And what you don't see is me and my sergeant taking her shoes off, taking her socks off, treating her feet, bandaging up her feet, getting her, because at that point the adrenaline's off and she couldn't even hardly walk on her feet, and for good reason. She darn near lost the whole bottoms of her feet. You don't see the humanity that we bring to it. The politicians will say, well, it's just really, you guys are really inhumane. I was like, that's funny because I've never seen you down here. I've never seen you down here in the desert pulling people out that the cartels leave for dead. I don't see you here stopping these people from getting trafficked by the cartels into the sex trade or whatever else. I don't see you down here expending all your resources and energy trying to save these people from the cartels. But we do that every day. Our guys go out every day. Border Patrol does it every day. And we treat these people with kindness. And we understand that in many ways, many of these people are victims of the cartels, victims of our failed policies. And what we're looking for those bad guys, the terrorists, those things.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.